This is the Everyday AI Show, the everyday podcast where we simplify AI and bring its power to your fingertips. Listen daily for practical advice to boost your career, business, and everyday life.
It can be hard to wrap your head around the impact that AI may have on the workforce, right? You're probably thinking about that all the time, whether you're a brand new employee to an organization or you are the decision maker in charge of implementing generative AI and large language models across an entire organization. But today we're going to talk about that. It's actually probably a bigger impact than you even might think, even if you think right now it's going to have a large impact. All right, I'm excited for today's conversation and welcome to Everyday AI. What's going on, y'all? My name's Jordan Wilson. I'm the host, and Everyday AI, it's for you. This is your daily live stream podcast and free daily newsletter helping everyday people like you and me learn and leverage generative AI to grow their companies and careers. If you're brand new here, maybe listening on the podcast, thanks for tuning in. Make sure to check out your show notes. The website's going to be there. Go to youreverydayai.com. Sign up for that free daily newsletter. Every single day, we bring you all the latest that you need to know about AI, as well as recapping this very episode. So don't worry, you don't got to jot down notes if you're out on your on a run or walking your dog. We're going to recap it all for you. All right, and also, bonus episode. We did a twofer last night with ChatGPT announcing their new model, the OpenAI O1 Preview O1 Mini. So we already dropped that, so make sure you go check that out. We never leave you hanging. We got that bonus one. All right, before we get into today's topic, which I'm extremely excited about, let's go over the AI news for today. So Oprah Winfrey's AI special had sparked some debate on technology's role in society. So Oprah Winfrey's recent special on AI entitled AI and the Future of Us has ignited some good discussion online surrounding the potential and pitfalls of artificial intelligence. So the tone of the event last night leaned towards skepticism as prominent figures, including OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates, FBI Director Christopher Wray, and others shared their insights. So Oprah emphasized the irreversible nature of AI, stating that humanity must learn to navigate its consequences, highlighting the need for vigilance as the stakes are high. CEO Sam Altman from OpenAI argued that current AI systems are learning concepts from data patterns, a claim that many experts contest, asserting that they merely predict outcomes without true understanding. Also, Altman called for government safety testing of AI systems akin to regulations in aviation and pharmaceuticals, but his push for regulation faces criticism as OpenAI opposes certain safety bills, citing concerns over innovation. All right. Speaking of Sam Altman, his company, we'll just give you the bullet points here of what happened as OpenAI unveiled its new reasoning model, or what they're calling a reasoning model, in O1 Preview and O1 Mini. So they have announced the release of the new models, which are designed to answer complex questions more efficiently than previous iterations, going through in a more step-by-step, almost like a way a human would tackle a problem, kind of using a chain of thought reasoning versus, people who are great at working with large language models using kind of chain of thought prompting. So the O1 model has demonstrated superior capabilities in solving multi-step problems, particularly in coding and mathematics, compared to its predecessor, GPT-4o. So right now, that is available to all ChatGPT Plus and ChatGPT Teams users, with enterprise and EDU users expected to get access within a week. OpenAI has also said that free users may get access to the smaller O1 Mini model, but no word yet on the potential release dates. So in tests, yes, the benchmarks are nutty, so make sure to just go check out the show on that. But the O1 scored 83% on a qualifying exam for the International Mathematics Olympiad, IMO, significantly outperforming GPT-4o, which only managed 13%. Yeah, huge jump there, going from a 13% score on that very famous math competition to an 83. Wow. All right. So, yeah, we'll have more in the newsletter on that, and make sure to go check out that bonus episode. Yeah, we did a twofer last night, late night. All right. So now I'm excited to have a guest here on the show. If you follow AI at all, there's a good chance you've heard of our guest. So I'm extremely excited to welcome onto the show. There we go. We have Pete Erickson, the founder of Modev. Pete, thank you so much for joining the Everyday AI Show.
Good morning, Jordan. Thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be a fun conversation as we talk about AI's impact on the workforce. But Pete, before we get there, tell us a little bit about what you do at Modev.
Okay, so Modev is a 15-year-old organization. In fact, I am wearing my 2014 5-year anniversary shirt. I did that in honor of our conversation this morning. So for 15 years, I have been building technology ecosystems. Modev stands for mobile development. And when the iPhone had come out, I found myself having just come out of my third startup over the previous 10 years, none of which had exited at that time. So feeling pretty much like there has to be something more here. And lo and behold, the iPhone and the Android had come out, the app stores. And so I saw a need to build community, and I built a mobile developer community and just went on this journey I didn't expect. And that was a journey of building conferences and, being at the heart of the conversation and figuring out how do we lift everybody up and how do we give people opportunities. And so that's been my life's work now for 15 years. And here we are now in the AI era. And, I come to you, it's Friday morning, and I'm kind of buzzing this morning because I'm also a musician. And last night I played this really fun show that was for the DMV Rising event, which is a cybersecurity event and community. And it was on this rooftop in downtown DC. And it was really fun because my musicianship and my technology, ecosystem and community work all sort of came together. And so, played for a few hours on this rooftop last night. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's amazing. And hey, real quick, shout out to our live stream audience. So everyone, Cecilia, Marie, Dr. Harvey Castro back in the house, Denny, Rolando, everyone, thank you for joining. If you have any questions, now is the time to get them in. But hey, sometimes, Pete, we just skip straight to the end. That's what I want to do here. So tell us, what is going to be AI's impact on the workforce?
It's going to be massive. And I've been a part of the workforce conversation for some time. Oh, by the way, I just want to say real quick, in 2011, when Siri came out for the mobile phone, we had an event, a 2-hour event where developers just gave testimonials about how voice AI could impact their mobile applications. That was in 2011. So, here we are all these years later. So it's very fun to be thinking about this. But workforce transformation is a big topic. So another thing that I do, I organize the AI House at CES. So this year it'll be January 28th. It'll be on site at the Las Vegas Convention Center. It's going to be a lot of fun. But last year we had Julie Su, the acting secretary of labor. We had Liz Schuler, the president of the AFL-CIO. We had Jesse Ehrenberger, Dr. Jesse Ehrenberger, the president of the AMA. Well, what was the topic of conversation? What was interesting is acting secretary Julie Su was the moderator for this panel. So we had a cabinet level secretary moderating a panel on workforce transformation at the hands of AI. So this is a very big topic. It's a topic globally. And what you're finding is big economic regions are making really strong plays to be centers of excellence with regards to AI, because it's going to have a massive impact. It's going to impact if you're a writer, a designer, a developer, a product leader, an entrepreneur. If you're a city and you're trying to make plans, you've got to know that this is coming. And I would liken it. It's a little like the arrival of the steam engine versus, man-powered labor. So we've got, white collar workers and knowledge workers have been using our brain power and our manpower to actually create things. And that's going to change. So there's a wholesale difference in the economic landscape globally. I'm working on a book on this topic that'll be out in December about, thriving in the era of the AI. So big impact, Jordan. I'd love to talk more about this.
So, you started to mention off, and I like what you did there. So, I think people think originally, oh, AI, large language models, generative AI, writers, but it's so much more than that, right? Especially now as we get to more capable models that can exhibit, almost this agentic behavior. And you even threw in there cities, right? Yes, entire cities, when they're planning for their futures, they have to take this into consideration. But, I actually want to tap into your experience here a little bit, Pete, and you walked us through now celebrating, 15 years at Modev. So can you kind of compare what you're seeing now with, specifically generative AI, as artificial intelligence has been around for many, many decades, but how has this kind of compared to other tech innovations that you've seen or that you've kind of been through so far? And how do you think it might differ?
I do have the benefit of having, graduated high school in 1984. And fun fact, I worked at the very first Costco store. I could program computers when I was in high school. So we got our first Apple II. So I programmed computers. I saw the arrival of the home personal computer, and the only way that you can actually do anything on it was actually to create your own software. So I was writing games, and other kind of fun programs. But because I could do that when I was 18, I actually opened the Costco store, the very first store down on 4th Avenue in Seattle, Washington. And I would get there at 5:30 in the morning. I would turn on the PC. I would download the pricing data from a 24 4-pod modem and burn it onto an 8.5-inch floppy disk, put that disk inside the registers and get the registers loaded up with the daily pricing data. I did that when I was 18. So I have seen the technology landscape grow from then. And I would compare what's happening today in generative AI probably compares most with the arrival of the internet. So the arrival of the internet was a wholesale change. I worked for a .com company in the late 90s in Seattle that raised, ungodly amounts of money. And basically we created a buy button. And the reason I bring that up is, there was so much investment in things that were really, quite frankly, simple. And now we look at them now, we laugh. But what's happening today is maybe something a little bit similar. Generative AI has so much promise. APIs are readily available. So you see a lot of companies and you see a lot of investment and growth in technologies that just in a few years are going to see why did a whole company get stood up around that? So generative AI is driving, a lot of innovations being driven at that time. Today as well, a lot of innovation was driven at the arrival of the internet. So all those VC dollars that went in and then, led to the .com collapse, they actually had a long-term impact. They did eventually do good, but we're going through that right now. So huge changes in organizations, how we use data, how we organize the work that we do, how we measure that output. But we're definitely going through, the balloon is getting bigger, and unfortunately, there will be a correction just because there's only so much absorption the enterprise can do with regards to technology. So the more startups you have, that's the more salespeople, the more sales cycles that are putting pressure on the C-suite, CIOs, CAIOs, CTOs, CISOs to buy that technology. It just it's like a bottleneck. It backs up. Eventually, there's going to be a bit of a challenge, but it's definitely an exciting time. That's why I'm here for it.
Yeah. Love the story of the first Costco. I'm a huge Costco guy, love my berry smoothie from there. But you just walked us through, right? Like you were creating, programs for a store to use, right? Like one of the biggest, now retailers in the world. How do you see, I kind of want to go down that route a little bit here. I wasn't expecting to, but, even creating applications, right? This is something I'm not technically a programmer. I can, I've been doing basic, HTML, CSS, JavaScript for a decade or so, but, now I can go in and create a program for myself to solve a problem in, a couple of minutes. What do you see as the future of that? What do you see as the future of, people? Are we all just going to be creating apps for ourselves to use? Is that going to be a common occurrence even for people who are maybe non-technical? And is that one of the ways that the workforce transforms?
I think basic apps, certainly it's going to be, you can do things just like you can stand up a basic website now. You can go into Wix or you can go to Squarespace and, you can do that. It's pretty cheap. Whereas, just 15 years ago, that would have cost you ungodly amounts of money to do the very same thing. But I would say that, we're entering an era of software management more than software creation. I don't believe that developers are just going to, be a thing of the past. But developers are going to have to change how they work. I'll use myself also. I run a company. We hire people all the time, designers, writers, developers. I want people that are actively using AI tools. I can go and create an image on Midjourney or Dolly, but I'm not a designer. And quite frankly, my prompts are very simple. But a designer is going to have the ability to write prompts that I don't, and they're going to create much, much, much better images. Writers are going to understand writing structure and be able to actually produce much better output. So my encouragement, the reason I'm writing this book about thriving in the era of AI, is that it is a time to really embrace these tools and lean in on our humanity as it relates to AI. And that's going to be the best result for anybody that's trying to get ahead in this market. So software developers, maybe they need to take a little bit more abstract view of software, but the good software development principles still apply, right? Good rules of thumb, really good hygiene when it comes to code. So, if we rely 100% on AIs and we don't know, about that output, whether we're a designer, a writer, a developer, you're going to end up with not a very good product. So, yeah, you and I are pretty technically proficient. We can use AI to do a lot of things. But when it comes to, really mission critical things, I'm going to hire a developer. I'm going to hire a writer. I'm going to hire a designer. I still do. That hasn't changed.
Yeah. And speaking of thriving in the era of AI, Pete, I think a lot of the conversation and attention over the past 2 years, especially since the literal chat GPT moment, right, has been on jobs, right? There's been both the fear of, oh, is AI going to take my job? And then there's been the uncertainty of how do I prepare for what my job, my career, or my company will become in the future? How should the average everyday person, right, kind of regardless of their role, how should they be following along? How should they be keeping up? Because the transformation is coming.
It's coming. We're all going to have to transform the way that we work and the way that we operate. And for the first time, my pen just flew. For the first time, Jordan, I know several developers that are out of work, and it is a direct result of AI. Don't get me wrong, because what's happening is organizations are slowing down their hiring because they're trying to figure out how do they resource in the era of AI. It's not that they don't want to hire developers. It's just that, and it used to be that any developer that I knew that had maybe at least, 2 or 3 years of experience was working. And I know several developers that have 25 or 30 years of experience that are not working right now. And, my encouragement with all of them when I speak with folks, and I'm not a recruiter, but I just do everything I can to try to place people into the jobs if they're looking, is to really embrace AI. So I would say start understanding the tools. If you're a developer, you should definitely, be experimenting with Copilot and, Codium and Tab9 and some of the other platforms that are out there that can write code now. ChatGPT can write code, and so can Claude and others. But, really become a proficient AI developer. And that means basically using AI to become a better developer. So I would encourage anybody that's out there in the field of, any creation field, right? Writing, designing, even user experience and, software development, even product management. Lean in on the tools, really understand them. So just really understand, make it part of who you are, make it part of your resume, make it part of your capabilities. It's just no different than, needing to be good at, Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel and PowerPoint back in, in the late 90s and, early 2000s. You really needed to know those things if you're going to be in the knowledge working space. And if you didn't have that on your resume, chances are you were going to have a hard time finding a job. I think the same thing applies today.
Yeah, that's a great point, right? Yeah, like, if over the past 2 decades, if you don't have proficiency in something like Microsoft Word or Excel, it could be difficult to find and keep gainful, like to be gainfully employed, right?
Right.
So I both, if I'm being honest, I both love and I hate the concept, right? Of when people say, oh, you just got to dive in and use it because it seems so complex yet so simple at the same time. I love the example though that you gave there, kind of about Microsoft products. But I'm curious, Pete, even for yourself, how has AI transformed your work personally? Modev, the work you all are doing, maybe if you can quickly give us an overview of that, could help us kind of envision this bigger transformation that we might all have to start making. Are you still running in circles trying to figure out how to actually grow your business with AI? Maybe your company has been tinkering with large language models for a year or more, but can't really get traction to find ROI on Gen AI. Hey, this is Jordan Wilson, host of this very podcast. Companies like Adobe, Microsoft, and NVIDIA have partnered with us because they trust our expertise in educating the masses around generative AI to get ahead. And some of the most innovative companies in the country hire us to help with their AI strategy and to train hundreds of their employees on how to use Gen AI. So whether you're looking for ChatGPT training for thousands or just need help building your front-end AI strategy, you can partner with us too, just like some of the biggest companies in the world do. Go to youreverydayai.com/partner to get in contact with our team, or you can just click on the partner section of our website. We'll help you stop running in those AI circles and help get your team ahead and build a straight path to ROI on Gen AI.
Absolutely. Well, so many different ways. For one thing, my own writing, I use several of the different tools for writing, just to, I put in my own writing and then I have it improve my own writing. I really want things still in my own voice. But I'm neurodivergent, I have ADHD. So the tools really help me become more productive. I use Perplexity for research. All the time I'm using Perplexity for research. If I'm, a great example is we got asked by CES to produce a neurotech conference at CES this year, right? I'm not in the neurotech space, but I will be in the next month. You'll see the site come live and you'll see us announce this soon. Exciting, really exciting. Well, I use Perplexity to really help me understand more about the neurotech market. Who are the key players? If I invite speakers, who should I be thinking about inviting? Wow, what a really great, tool to have right at my fingertips. And, I encourage my teams as well. We really want to make heavy use of AI wherever we can, because quite frankly, it can help us. It helps us write better emails, write better marketing copy. And we're on HubSpot. So HubSpot's done a good job of incorporating AI tools into the platform as well. So I would just say anywhere I can use it, I'm, definitely use it. And I'm no less of a human being. I'm still doing the work. But it does give me it gives me back some time to, create. I've got big plans for 2025. I mean, I got to tell you, like I'm making, what I feel like are like impossible goals. We want to launch this new conference called Generate, which is all around AI upskilling. I want to launch it on 5 continents. So, how do we go do that? Well, AI is really helping me understand, what are the key markets I should be in South America? Well, I can ask, and not just one of the, ask them all. Then you compare the different answers, synthesize all those responses into one, right? So there's just so many things, we can do with AI. And as a community builder, I'm taking full advantage. But quite frankly, I think it just makes me better at what I do.
Yeah, and you mentioned something in there, Pete. The concept of upskilling. It's now been the new buzzword of 23 and 24. I feel upskilling, reskilling, skill shifting. Right? What does that process look like? Because I think that is, if I'm being honest, I think that's going to be one of the biggest impacts of the workforce. Because companies, I think, are going to see pretty sizable, at least efficiency, productivity gains. And then they're going to say, okay, how can we start, reapplying some of that time to other areas, maybe new business, new areas of growth. How do you see that playing out, or how should it play out?
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head, Jordan. I think that this is about actually increasing productivity, increasing profitability, but not getting rid of people. This is not about, I think organizations that see this as an opportunity to reduce headcount are seeing it the wrong way. Organizations that see AI as an opportunity to increase profit per employee are seeing it the right way. And, people are hungry and eager to thrive in their careers, to get ahead. And AI offers that opportunity, is to just, to be more productive, and regardless of what job they're in, whether they're an analyst, whether they're a writer, designer, developer. So I think smart organizations are embracing AI, getting their staffs trained up on tools that they can use in their day-to-day work to become more productive. And like you said, I mean, I think what you're going to see is, every company has a release pipeline, probably a couple of years long, right? They're like got product releases that are out. Wow, imagine being able to shrink that timeline down so you actually can have a better product out there. You have a better experience for your clients, whether you're a B2B company or a B2C company. You can really work on what we call CX automation, or CX experience, customer experience. And you can start to pour into areas that are really, quite frankly, more important. And I think companies will start to understand, like, wow, all that stuff we used to do, like no one would ever see it. It was really expensive. It took a lot of time, and it didn't really do us any good at the end of the day. Well, all these efficiency can be gained by companies that really embrace AI. I think that's what's really exciting. And that's what I'm going to advocate for, is for organizations. This is not about people losing their jobs, right? 97 million jobs are going to be created in AI. The flip side of that is 84 million jobs are going to go away. And when we say go away, what it really means is there's efficiencies that are going to be gained. Those jobs can go into more productive areas and maybe even higher pay. So I think that there's a ton of opportunity. I had a great lunch with Kathy Hackle. If you don't know her, definitely follow her. She is a global leader on the AI stage. And she said it's a season of possibilities. And I love that term, because that's really what it is. It's an exciting time.
A great question here from Rolando. So he's asking, how do you think generative AI will change leadership dynamics in team collaboration? What are the new opportunities? Speaking of season of opportunity, great question there, Rolando. What are the new opportunities and challenges for executives as AI tools become more prominent in the workplace?
Yeah, that is a really good question. I think a lot of executives are thinking about security. Like, it's almost like they're thinking about security first, right? So if we're going to start to utilize, large language models internally, and open up generative AI tools for our staff, where's that data coming from? What's it being, where's that training data coming from? Are we opening ourselves up? If we're using, let's say we're using data that was trained on copyrighted material, and suddenly inside our organization, we're starting to use that. Does that open us up? So I think organizations and leaders are really thinking about this. So that's where the role of the chief AI officer comes in, is that companies are really working hard to implement policy positions for their organization. So I say that's almost top of mind right now for a lot of folks. Now, there are capabilities, and I spoke with a chief AI officer for a global NGO, and they are using AI internally, generative AI. They're starting to adopt it internally, but it's all trained on their own data. They're not allowing external data. There's that, and then I do believe that really good leaders are going to enable and encourage the use of AI tools incorporated into their day-to-day operations. So that, let's say they have their monthly or their weekly stand-up meeting. Come prepared with your reports. Use the tools to generate those reports. Let's be as efficient as possible. So a lot of efficiencies can be gained internally. But I would say security, policy, that's having a huge impact on companies internally right now. And then capabilities are going to come next. And the fastest moving organizations are going to be able to take the most advantage of those capabilities sooner.
Yeah. And, I love that, toward the end of the conversation here, we're talking about, chief AI officers, kind of a newer trend in 2024, right? But who should ultimately, when we talk about workforce impact, I think there's reactive aspects of that. There's proactive aspects of that as well. Who should be owning AI initiatives, right? Whether companies have already gone all in or not. Who should be owning it? Should they first be, appointing a chief AI officer? Is this a CTO, CIO thing? Who's owning this? Who's driving this?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think, what I'm finding is, in the conversations I'm having with folks, is AI is a data function. And so it's almost like, the data scientist side of the house is, I'd say, paramount with regards to owning AI from many standpoints. But you've got to have the chief technology, the chief IO officer, and then you've got the CISO as well. It's a group function, but I would say that most organizations, it seems to me that it's falling AI in terms of its use and its implementation seems to be a data science engineering side of the house. But that's not going to be true everywhere. But it seems to be, my anecdotal data and the conversations that I've been having, that seems to be where it's falling. However, I will say this, there's if people are familiar with the term DevOps. DevOps describes software development operation that involves really tight coordination amongst the CIO, the CTO, the CISO, even the CMO, as products, and the chief product officer. There's just really good coordination in organizations that have a really good DevOps department that have really adopted DevOps. And I would say those organizations are going to be in the best position to really leverage AI, because they've already taken care of a lot of the challenges related to building products and getting those products to market. So people that are great at DevOps are going to be good at AI. And if you're not great at DevOps, you're going to have a very challenging time in rolling out AI.
That's a great point. Yeah. Those companies that do excel, specifically in DevOps. Yeah. It's almost like they were preparing the groundwork, especially if they've had that, for a decade or so. So Pete, we talked about a lot today so far. I mean, we talked about data security, upskilling, reskilling, even practical ways that, you and your company are starting to transform your own work. But as we wrap up today's show, maybe what is the one most important next step for decision makers to take right now, as we are all either going through or embracing for this big AI impact that is coming to the workforce?
I think use the tools. I mean, and we're at this. You mentioned at the top of the show that OpenAI announced all these new feature releases, right? It's just that happens all the time, happens every day. It's why I decided I'm not going to just be on LinkedIn just dropping release information on stuff, because you just pretty soon it's all in the noise and you can't keep up. But I would say adopting the tools, starting to use the tools every day, and just understand them better. So that's when I really started to open my eyes and go try them all out. Like, this is a time. This is very fun. I mean, it's really interesting. It's a great time of experimentation. So definitely be experimenting. Right now is a really good time to do it. You can get away with experimentation. Even, if you want to experiment with some, small pilot rollouts of products. I mean, it seems to be the rule now more than the exception, Jordan, is that, big releases go out, and Microsoft has been very good at this, and they're not ready. So it's like, oh, we got to pull them back because it's not ready. You could do that on a small scale and get away with it. So I'd say it's a time of exploration, a time of experimentation. And I would say include your teams in the process. Let them be a part of this process, and enable people, to utilize AI, overcome some of the fears out there. But it's a great time to take advantage of all these, wonderful products at our fingertips.
Such great advice. This was another one, y'all. If you're listening to this, bookmark this one, come back, listen to it once a month. I think this is great advice from Pete that will not age. So Pete, thank you so much for coming on the Everyday AI Show. We very much appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me on, Jordan. I enjoyed it.
All right, quick reminder, everyone, we covered a lot, and there is, as always, a lot more. If you haven't already, please make sure to go to youreverydayai.com. Go check out that bonus episode. Like I said, we already covered the big announcement from OpenAI. So go to youreverydayai.com, sign up for that daily newsletter, and we'll see you back for more Everyday AI. Thanks, y'all.
And that's a wrap for today's edition of Everyday AI. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a rating. It helps keep us going. For a little more AI magic, visit youreverydayai.com and sign up to our daily newsletter so you don't get left behind. Go break some barriers, and we'll see you next time.